If you haven't noticed, the tunnel, well, is not the same brown that you saw before. That's because I decided to paint the tunnel the same color as the ground, but then I realized that it's going to be a bit too brown, so today I'm going to be painting it in a mix of gray this time and brown, like a mixture kind of, to make it more of a mountain like you'd see in real life. I'm also going to be doing the lake and some other features at the side so that we can get it done. And if you don't notice, at the back, it's now a dark acrylic paint instead of the bright pink foam. As I said before, I just used black acrylic paint. You can basically use anything, and it looks really good. Not many people are gonna see it, but I still think it's a pretty good addition, especially when people are more going to the side. So at least if they want to view the trains from inside the tunnel, it won't be like pink foam. Now we're back at the tunnel because we're going to repaint it in this gray paint, as well as we're going to add some Woodland Scenics blended turf earth blend, fine turf burnt grass, and some fine turf green grass. And we're going to add it on top of the layout, as well as add some plaster cloth where the lake area will be, because we're going to be cutting it out. Alright, now that this area has been painted in a darker brownish gray, like in the real world, now I'm going to be adding some glue on top of it using the wet scenery technique, and finally we're going to top it off with all of our turf. Now that all the Elmer's glue has been placed onto our mountain while the paint's still drying, next step we're going to do is I'm going to take the blended earth blend, I'm going to put it into a cup, and with a plastic spoon I'm going to be placing it and sprinkling it all over here. Then after that we'll add the burnt grass and then the fine green grass. Alright, now that all of the earth blend is on top of the layout, we're going to now go with the burnt grass, and we already have it in the cup. So now we're going to use the spoon again, and we're just going to top it on top. Alright, now that we have both of the layers on top of the tunnel, we're going to finish it off with sprinkling some Woodland Scenics fine turf green grass. And after that, we can work on the waterfall. Alright, now with all of the scenery layers done, I think that the mountain's complete. Now, we're just gonna let it dry, and then we're gonna work on the waterfall section and the lake area. So, let's cut right to it. Alright, if you haven't noticed, while the mountain's still drying, I decided that why not start with the lake? Instead of doing the waterfall, we're going to cut out the lake. All we're doing is we're taking this knife, we're cutting it into sections, and then we're just scooping it out with this flathead screwdriver and this plastic spoon. So, let's get to that. Alright, now that all the cutting is done, and now that we've reached the wood, we got this plaster cloth sheet that's been cut out to fit into the area. We're going to dip it in water, and then we're going to fit it on properly. And then we can finish up the lake scene. Alright, now that all the cutting's done and we got all the plaster cloth layered and the mountain scenery done, now all that's left to do is let everything here dry, and then we can finally finish the mountain scene. Alright everybody, welcome back to the layout. So now that everything's dry, I've added a little bit of details like these two hikers here. I'm gonna put them on the side for now, because now we're going to work on the lake scene. So we have my paint, and we're just gonna water it down a little so that it's more easy to blend. We have all the plastic cloth dried, we have everything dried. Now we're just going to make the brown here into a lighter color so that we can put it on the edges. Then we're going to make it a lighter or darker blue. So let's get to that. Alright, now that the brown layer is done and it's relatively dry, we're going to be adding this sort of blue, and we're going to be adding it around the outer layer as shallower waters, and then in the middle areas we're going to make it a darker sort of blue. Alright, now with the two outer layers of blue done, you can see these two blues here, we are comparing them, but we've chosen to use this acrylic Copenhagen blue for the middle area, or for the darker, deep areas of the water. Then after that, we're all gonna let it dry, and then we'll finally be able to pour a realistic water. And so once we do that, we can work on the waterfall and the grass, and we'll be done. Okay, now that we've colored the lake, we can now do the waterfall. Now I'm gonna get some help from a parent because my painting skills aren't as good. So we're going to paint it white here, and then once everything dries, we're going to be pouring the realistic water on top so that it will, look like water. And then after that, we can add our grass. I can put the road back on, and then yeah, we'll be done. Now that the waterfall has been painted, now that we're letting it dry, we're going to be adding the scenic grass around our lake area for now, so that at least when we add the rest of the grass here will already be done around the outer layer. So let's do that. Okay, so now that the waterfall has been painted into a more bluer color, we got brown at the outskirts, or as accents, and we have the grass now around the area, as well as a couple of trees. We're all just gonna let it dry, and finally we can add the realistic water to everything, and the rest of the grass, and the whole scene will be complete. Alright, so I've already poured out the realistic water so that I can get a head start on drying it. But how it works is that I'm just gonna pour a little bit. You can just pour a little bit, and yeah, that's it. You just pour it on your water space. You can also use a brush. This one's been cut so that you can get the sides of the wall to make it look like there's been water splashes. And the whole point of it is just you get it on your water space, let it dry, and then it'll be good. So now that we have the realistic water here, we're gonna work on the waterfall. And we're just gonna let it dry a little bit more. The paint's still a bit wet. Then we're going to pour it onto here, and then we'll be done. Alright, now that all of the scenic realistic water has been placed, with a little bit of mistakes here and there, but I think it's pretty good. So now I'm just gonna let it dry, and then the whole layout can be complete. Now all that's left is with the grass. Now we're going to be doing the grass for this side and the corner back there. So all I'm gonna do here, I'm just gonna take my glue. I didn't show it last time, but I'm just gonna paint the area in blue. Now I'm not gonna paint this middle area because this is where my track is. Blue, of course, because without this, our glue will, be useless. So we just want to make sure that we got a lot and enough. Gotta blow off some of that other grass, but yeah. I'm just gonna go finish dealing with all this. I'm gonna finish painting this side all with glue. And then I'm gonna cut to a time lapse now with me finishing the glue and putting on the grass. So let's cut to that. Alright, now that we got the grass on this corner here, I've put this building here, the stable building, where I'm going to have a tractor there. We have that building right there. I also put a barrel and some trees around it. I also covered the lake because I did get a bit of the grass in the lake, so this time I covered it so I can do the inside here. I'm also going to mark my track so that I know where all the trucks are gonna go, and then I'll finish the video. Alright, now that I got my track marked out, I can finish it off again with the fine turf scenic grass. And once we finally finish that, I'll finish the video, and then in part 3 I'll show you the results of all the hard work.
We're a great big rolling railroad, one that everybody knows. We were born of gold and silver spikes 100 years ago. We're a million miles of history, as shining in the sun.
Alright, now that we've got all the grass laid down, I'm all just gonna let it dry. And in part 3, I'll show you all the results. So I'm just gonna vacuum some of this grass here that's left over. And then I think I'll see you guys in part 3. Alright. Bye, guys.
We're the Union Pacific, doing 90 miles.